Hello and welcome to Training Tuesday, where we go through weekly tips and tricks to make your career just a little bit more awesome. This week we are talking about redefining purpose, because purpose is a heavy word. In my line of work, I hear from a lot of people who think of it not in the best ways necessarily, and I often am subjected to hearing a lot of the common purpose myths. So the top 6 I see, which I've shared about in the past, are: 1, you either have it or you don't, right? So either you're born with it and you always knew, or you're just kind of out of luck. So you either have it or you don't. Purposeful work has to be inherently altruistic. Purposeful work seldom pays well. Wanting a purposeful career is entitled. Purpose means that the work feels easy. And once you find it, you're all set. So those are the top 6 myths that I see, and I could do an entire Training Tuesday on each of them, and by some point I probably will. But for now, what I will say is I don't agree with any of those. So more often than not, right, people think of purpose all wrong, and that's what this week is about, because this is not helpful by any means. Maybe you believe one of these myths. Maybe you think of purpose, as many people do, as an answer. And this is something that I hear a lot, and it's really, really problematic, because a lot of people like to look at purpose as this answer, right? They think that it's going to be this magical thing that once they find it out, it kind of is like well, I did the research and I found out that my answer is, drum roll please, social worker, right? They think that purpose is something like that, where it's just this fill in the blank thing, and once they find it out, then they know the answer to everything. And while that's a way of thinking of it, I don't think it's necessarily the best way of thinking at it, because I think this can be really problematic, because it sets you up in this line of thinking that it's this, you either have this answer or you don't. It sets a lot of stress in your kind of place. It makes it, it misses out on so much of, I think, like the juice and the goodness of what a purposeful career is, because it tries to put it in a box, opposed to recognizing that as humans, we're way more complex than that for the most part, right? It's seldom going to be just this one magical answer that pops up for someone and it never changes the rest of their whole life. And so a healthier way I like to think about these things, because we tend to think of, people tend to take one of 2 approaches, right, when it comes to purpose. So they either say, 1, they are what I call the planners. And the planners like to see purpose as, they think it's going to be, right, this answer, and they think they're going to have a 10-year plan. And once they find that purpose, they're going to be able to say, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this in 5 years, and here's exactly what my path is going to look like. And they want to have everything really laid out. And the problem with this approach is it either makes you put blinders on, right? If some other great opportunity comes up, you're not going to be open to it. Or number 2, it can make it feel like if you decide you no longer want one of those steps anymore, all of a sudden it feels like your world is bottoming out, right? You start to say, but I always thought that was the path, so what's going to happen to me now? The other end of the spectrum I tend to see are the kind of Yoloers, as I call it, or the people who kind of just say, like, I like to go where the wind takes me. I'm just going to trust that things will all work out, and I'm just going to kind of like take opportunities as they come up, and that will lead me on the right path. That approach with purposeful planning doesn't really work very well either, because it's just like going on a hike without a map, right? Hopefully you stumble upon the great view, but it would be a lot easier if you knew the waterfall was due north and I can at least walk in that direction. And so neither of these approaches work well when it comes to purpose. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments, or you can send me a message or anything like that, but I'm curious to hear from you which of those tendencies you might gravitate towards, if you tend to be a planner, or if you tend to be a more, let's see where it takes me. Right? Neither of these approaches, I would argue, works particularly well. And so what I want you to do instead is focus on a North Star. And that is my tip for you this week. It's actually a pretty simple one, because it's all about a mental reframe. I want you to reframe thinking of purpose how I think of purpose, which is not that it's this magical answer, which is not that it's this thing that you would just kind of stumble into, but it's all about, I think purpose is all about being more and more of you at your best each day. And so then you don't have to worry about finding your purpose or the answer. You just have to get clear on who you at your best is, so you can be more of that person in each day, every way, in every job you take, and try your hardest to align to that. And I think this approach is so much healthier because it gives us a North Star we're walking towards without being so prescriptive about the path that all of a sudden we panic if we decide we don't want one of those steps anymore. So it gives us structure yet flexibility. This is the way I want you to think about it as well. This is the process I teach because to me, I think it's such a healthier approach. So that is my tip for you this week, is to make that mental reframe and to let me know which of those you've gravitated towards in the past. If you tend to be one of the planners or the let's see how it goes people. And let me know what you've struggled with in the past, and know you can think about purpose in this way as your North Star of being more of yourself at your best each day. And that is the greatest way to go about it, okay? So start with that, and in the meantime, happy working.